In this Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm no matter who you are, who you love, where you are on your journey, you are welcome here. For those of you joining us online, we're glad you're here. If you're visiting with us today, we invite you to sign our visitor's book. If you'd like to join us for coffee downstairs, which I hope you will, you'll have the opportunity to grab a green mug if you're of the more extroverted type and would like people to greet you. Otherwise, you can take a nondescript cup and no one will talk. No, we will still talk to you. We have snacks and we have our fair trade table today. We're really glad Debbie Nelson-Wyman is back. Debbie Wayman is back with us. Also, members and friends to help folks to connect. I invite you to remember to wear your name tag with your pronoun stickers. And if you need a name tag, you can request that in the living room. We recognize that individuals of all ages and abilities have different needs during the service. In the living room in the back of the sanctuary, we provide a cart of fidgets and drawing supplies that's not only for younger people, it's for anyone. If at any point you feel the need for movement, please feel free to get up, grab a fidget, engage in drawing. There's other seating arrangements in the back if you'd like. Beloved, may you know that each of you are welcome in this house of peace. May our worship this morning touch your heart, your mind, and your spirit. Our music today is provided by our music director, Jamie Passman, and the Celebration Singers, directed by Julia Beckman. There is always a lot going on around our church, and you can read all about it in a weekly little e-newsletter called News and Notes. It comes every Friday, and there are printed copies downstairs. If you'd like to receive news and notes, stop by the welcome table in the living room at the back. And you know, that's usually just about what we send. Sometimes there are things that are more emergent that we will send out, but we don't send out a lot of emails. So if you want to see what's happening throughout the week and get familiar, we'd love for you to do that. Join us, and anyone is welcome to join us for the second session of our new UU workshop coming up after the service. If you'd like to know more about Unitarian Universalism in our church, please feel free to join us. And if you're unable to join that class today, reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat. Love to serve tea in my office or meet you someplace and let you know about our church. I'm going to invite up our Director of Programs, Pam Fodor, to tell us something very important.
So I still have on my ruby slippers, but this is the last time. So I'm going to click my heels together 3 times, and everybody's going to say, "There's no place like home." Oh, this coming Saturday, November 15th, is our big event. We have so many fun sign-ups, useful gift cards, tickets for outings, and awesome gifts baskets that will make wonderful Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. We will see you at 5 o'clock to check in and start bidding. Tim is cooking up some delicious pizzas with vegan and gluten-free options, of course, and I'm told an Oz surprise for dessert. Please bring cash or checks to tip your bartenders, buy split the pot raffle tickets, play our fun heads and tails game, and to purchase a wine from our wine pick. After our live auction, which has some really special things in it, we will rock the night away with our very own Tony and Shadow Fields. At the end of the evening, we will invite you to stop downstairs to pick up items that you won. They will be labeled with your name and ready for you to take home. But new this year, we will not be invoicing you on Saturday night. Instead, we will be ready to take your checks or cards on Sunday, November 23rd. We still have a few volunteer opportunities for you to sign up for, if you haven't already. And we are still selling tickets downstairs, but you can also buy your tickets at the door. But if you have them ahead of time, it expedites the check-in process. See Nancy and Liz downstairs if you have any questions. And we are so excited, and we'll see you on Saturday. There's no place like home.
Thank you, Pam. It is really a wonderful event. It's not just about buying things, it's about building our community, and it's about supporting the work of this amazing congregation in these very important times. I am thrilled to be sharing the service this morning with the Reverend Scott Sang. I'll do a little bit of a bio for Scott. Scott is in his 5th and final year in leading the Unitarian Universalist Advocacy Network of Illinois. 12th. It's 12th. And it says 12th here. I just think maybe you got one more year in you. It's our statewide UU Justice Network. Originally from Minnesota, Scott worked with the Southwest Youth Collaborative and the American Friends Service Committee, and has served congregations in Illinois, Northwest Indiana in various capacities over the last 35 years. He enjoys playing, singing, listening to music, and is looking forward to walking the El Camino with friends and family this coming year. You're also invited to join Reverend Scott after the service to learn about your participation in an important AT&T action that will allow us to live out our values, as AT&T is the provider of service for the masked abductors in our communities, ICE. There was a beautiful gathering for Scott last night at the DuPage UU Church. There were 120, 30, 40 people from congregations from around the state. Folks from our congregation were there. There were people representing organizations that have partnered with UUANI over these 12 years. Now, Scott is the founder of UUANI, and listening to people talk about Scott and his impact and influence on their lives, on their congregations, was powerful to hear, if a little bit embarrassing sometimes, but it just revealed to me and made me want to reflect just a little bit on what Scott's ministry has meant to me. I've been here in this area for about 2.5 years. And I came and knew that I wanted to serve. I knew I wanted to serve our wider denomination. I also knew I wanted to put my body and my time in a place that would impact my congregation, and also that would do the good in this world, in this state, in our area that I know I needed to make. Scott, you were incredibly gracious in welcoming me after being here 6 months onto the board of UNI, mentoring me, being a colleague and a friend, being a person that was a guide and an inspiration and still is. You welcomed my gifts, you welcomed my challenges, and you welcomed me into UUANI in a way that has enriched my life in ways that are beyond what I can say. Coming to this area from Southern California, San Diego, where I was involved in immigration work, the ability to work in immigration here in the Chicago area is so important to me, and Scott, thank you for that opportunity. The other opportunity that you made space for was for my work and my call to the people of Gaza and Palestine. And you made a space for me to do that where space wasn't always available. And I'll always be grateful to you for that. People talked about Scott's leadership as relational, collaborative, as gracious, grounded, and kind. Remember, there's a difference between being nice and being kind. Kind means you tell the truth with love. And Scott is nice, by the way, not to imply that he's not. But I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for the contributions that you've made to this congregation. We've had Tracy Olson was on the board, and the congregation has been involved in listening campaigns. And it is my deepest desire to honor you and your legacy for this congregation to be even more involved with you and I in the weeks to come and in the years to come. And we will be welcoming our new executive director. I'm on the board, and it's been wonderful to see the collaboration and the transition that you've so graciously done. So, welcome, Scott. Thank you. We begin our services with an acknowledgement of the land that we are on. We here in the western suburbs inhabit areas that are the traditional territory of indigenous peoples. As a people trying to live into a more just world, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the history and the legacy of colonialism, the harm done to Native peoples, and also to work to repair that harm. We begin our service with a pause. When Scott was preparing for the service, he wrote, "It's easy in times like these, it's easy to freak out, numb out, check out, burn out. But as Bayo Akamalawafe says, the times are urgent. Let us slow down." The times are urgent. Let us slow down. Let us take care of ourselves, Scott writes, and each other. Let us gain perspective. Let us ground ourselves in deeper places and ask deeper questions. As Clarissa Pincola Estes suggests, we will hear from some of her words later, let us show the lantern of fully lit soul in these shadowy times in ways that can make a difference. So we pause before the service begins, and I'm going to just invite you to take a breath and arrive into this place, into this time, with these people, for this work, for this sacred hour. Breathing in, arriving to this place of a snowy autumn day where we do pause, where we do slow down, where we take care of ourselves and each other. So as the choir is going to sing for us, I just invite you to breathe it in. Be aware of your body, your breath, and your connection in this beautiful interdependent web.
Good morning. Thank you, choir, and thank you, Beth, for those kind and nice words. Our call to worship is entitled God Runs Late for Church by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Today, God is running late, trying to find their seat, scanning the room for someone they know or someone they don't. God's feeling evangelical, but not in a judgy way, mysterious, but not manipulative. God can't stop thinking about the James Webb Telescope and the possibility that time is not linear, which God might have guessed from the never-ending urgency of some upcoming election and the likelihood that sometime next week Valentine's candy will arrive in the grocery stores. God is tired of grief and white supremacy and the warming of the oceans, not to mention they usually come to a later service. But God's hearing aid batteries ran out, and they haven't had time to order some, or that's what they say when asked, and can hear the question. But really, that last emergency room visit maxed their credit cards, and their partner's been working DoorDash for some extra cash. But it's just not enough, and really, God just wants to be present. Stop worrying about everything. Sting, breathe, laugh. We got you, God, we'll say. We'll settle in, and we'll be present, and we'll sing. We'll tell stories and breathe deep. We'll remember ourselves and offer whole galaxies of gratitude for all this beauty, the still blooming salvia, the full apple trees, the snow on the grass, zucchini bread, and the women's soccer team, for protest letters and entire communities of people saying, "You are safe here." God, your creation is not yet done creating you. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Scott. The song we're about to sing, "We Are a Gentle, Angry People," is number 170 in your gray hymnal. This is the first verse, and the other verses follow just with, different lines, so you see those lined out. You'll notice that there is a change in, I think it's about the 5th verse. Holly Neer, who's the author of this song, had written it gay and straight together. And then Reverend Kim Debus, who writes a blog called Notes from the Far Fringe, where she talks about each of the songs in both of our hymnals, noted that she was present at a Holly Neer concert when she was going to do the song. And Holly Neer commented that gay and straight was just a binary that didn't work any longer, and that all of the letters wouldn't fit. So she changed the lyric to "We are all in this together." So you'll notice that change. And y'all, I just invite you to rise in body or spirit and let us sing. Our cello-sliding words are The Sacred Power of Justice by Jamie Yaddle, a UUA transgender support specialist. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope. In moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown, we light this flame, and we are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength as prophetic and powerful people is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call of love.
Good morning again. Scott has challenged me to read Dr. Seuss, which is something else, but here goes nothing. Yertle the turtle. On the faraway island of Salamasand, Yertle the turtle was king of the pond. A nice little pond. It was clean, it was neat. The water was warm. There was plenty to eat. The turtles had everything turtles might need, and they were all happy, quite happy indeed. They were until Yertle, the king of them all, decided the kingdom he ruled was too small. I'm ruler, said Yertle, of all that I see, but I don't see enough. That's the trouble with me. With this stone for a throne, I look down on my pond, but I cannot look down on the places beyond. This throne that I sit on is too low down. It ought to be higher, he said with a frown. If I could sit high, how much greater I'd be. What a king! I'd be ruler of all I could see. So Yertle, the turtle king, lifted his hand, and Yertle, the turtle king, gave a command. He ordered 9 turtles to swim to his stone, and using these turtles, he built a new throne. He made each turtle stand on one another's back, and he piled them all up in a 9-turtle stack. And then Yertle climbed up, he sat down on the pile. What a wonderful view! He could see most a mile. All mine, Yertle cried. Oh, the things how I rule. I'm king of a cow, I'm king of a mule, I'm king of a house, and what's more beyond that, I'm king of a blueberry bush and a cat. I'm Yertle the turtle, oh marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see. And all through that morning, he sat there up high, saying over and over, a great king am I, until long about noon. Then he heard a faint sigh. What's that? Snapped the king, and he looked down the stack, and he saw at the bottom a turtle named Mac. Just a part of his throne, and this plain little turtle looked up and he said, beg your pardon, King Yertle. I have pains in my back and my shoulders and knees. How long must we stand here, your majesty, please? Silence, the king of the turtles barked back. I'm king, and you're only a turtle named Mac. You stay in your place while I sit here and rule. I'm king of a cow, I'm king of a mule, I'm king of a house and a bush and a cat. But that isn't all. I'll do better than that. My throne shall be higher, his royal voice thundered. So pile up more turtles. I want about 200. Turtles, more turtles, he bellowed and brayed. And the turtles way down in the pond were afraid. They trembled, they shook, but they came, they obeyed. From all over the pond, they came swimming by dozens. Whole families of turtles with uncles and cousins, and all of them stepped on the head of poor Mac. One after another, they climbed up the stack. Then Yertle the turtle was perched up so high, he could see 40 miles from his throne in the sky. Hooray, shouted Yertle, I'm king of the trees. I'm king of the birds, I'm king of the bees. I'm king of the butterflies, king of the air. Ah me, what a throne, what a wonderful chair. I'm Yertle the turtle, oh marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see. Then again, from below, in a great heavy stack, came a groan from that plain little turtle named Mac. Your Majesty, please, I don't like to complain, but down here below, we are feeling great pain. I know up on top you are seeing great sights, but down at the bottom, we too should have rights. We turtles can't stand it. Our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving, groaned Mac. You hush up your mouth, howled the mighty King Yertle. You've no right to talk to the world's highest turtle. I rule from the clouds over land, over sea. There's nothing, no nothing, that's higher than me. But while he was shouting, he saw with surprise that the moon of the evening was starting to rise up over his head in the darkening skies. What's that? Snorted Yertle. Say, what is that thing that dares to be higher than Yertle the king? I shall not allow it. I'll go higher still. I'll build my throne higher. I can and I will. I'll call some more turtles. I'll stack them to heaven. I need about 5,600 and... But as Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand and started to order and give the command, that plain little turtle below in the stack, that plain little turtle whose name was just Mac, decided he'd taken enough. And he had. And that plain little lad got a little bit mad, and that plain little Mac did a plain little thing. He burped. And his burp shook the throne of the king. And Yertle the turtle, the king of the trees, the king of the air and the birds and the bees, the king of the house and a cow and a mule, well, that was the end of the Turtle King's rule. For Yertle, the king of all Salem and Sond, fell off his high throne and fell plunk in the pond. And today, the great Yertle, that marvelous he, is king of the mud. That is all he can see. And the turtles, of course, all the turtles are free, as turtles and maybe all creatures should be. All right, please join in singing me and my friends to the other building.
A reading from On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. A patriot wants the nation to live up to its ideals, which means asking us to be our best selves. A patriot must be concerned with the real world, which is the only place where one's country can be loved and sustained. A patriot has universal values, standards by which one judges one's nation, always wishing it well and always wishing it would do better. Democracy failed in Europe in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and it is failing in many parts of the world today. It is that history and experience that reveals to us the dark range of our possible futures. A nationalist will say, "It can't happen here," which is the first step toward disaster. A patriot says, "It could happen here, but that we will stop it." So, it's good to be back with you again today. It always feels like a long time since I've been here. I don't think it's been that long, but it is always good to be back with you. I'm grateful to Reverend Beth. I'm always grateful to Tracy Olson for guiding me through some of the early years of UUNI. Again, I'm Scott Osting, Executive Director of UUNI. And yes, Tracy, give a hand for Tracy, please. And for Marion and Mary and Kathy and all you and Dave and all you people who are keeping social justice going here at UCH, thank you for what you do. And I was going to say, I'm pleased to share with you that my successor, Natasha Walker, who is taking over for me at the first of the year, will be coming to visit you next year. She's planning to tour every congregation in the state next year, a very ambitious goal, so you can look forward to greeting her. She's going to be wonderful. She is wonderful. So it may be hard to remember now, but we had a particularly long, cool, and windy spring this year. At least it's getting easier to remember these days. I became pretty aware of this since I like to get out and bike around my neighborhood first thing every morning. My usual route takes me first to the south. Which way is south? South. First to the south, then to the north. Is that right? Close? And then straight back north to get back home. And I vividly remember that more often than not, when I would turn around back to the north, a blast of biting cold wind would hit me smack in the face every day, pretty much every morning, day after day, week after week, month after month. And I have to keep digging deep to make my way back home, often returning with cold ears, which Meg would notice, and tears in my eyes, wondering when or if winter was ever going to end. The news has felt a lot like that this year, hasn't it? A daily barrage of harsh, cruel blasts in our faces every morning that leave us struggling to keep going, feeling lots of feelings, and wondering when, if ever, this is all going to end. I have to admit I got a bit obsessed with those daily winds from the north because this isn't how I remembered previous springs, and it was really starting to get to me. So I started researching online, how often do the winds usually blow from the north in Chicago? And I learned from weatherman Tom Skilling, no less, that historically speaking, winds in Chicago blow from the northeast, where it's typically colder, about 40% of the time, which is far more than I ever realized or even imagined. I knew we had chilly, windy days now and then, but I never realized how persistent those cold, harsh winds really were until this year, when they became so prevalent I just couldn't ignore or avoid them. And of course, I got to wondering if there hasn't been a persistent underlying coldness of spirit in our country, perhaps not always dominant, but far greater than I've ever wanted to realize or admit. One that has now come to the fore in ways I never could have imagined and can no longer ignore or avoid. As a middle-class white person, the historical narrative I grew up with was, we've been a pretty good country, haven't we? With sporadic failings that we've progressively come over time. But the last decade has been a rude awakening for many of us. Made us face the persistence of our white supremacist and authoritarian tendencies that are not so new and not so sporadic. I've come to realize in ways that I somehow never had before that our dominant white culture has a long history of controlling and treating as less than human so many people, whether those who were living here before Europeans came or those who immigrated here after my people or our people came, or those who were brought here in chains, or those who are still tucked in the chains of poverty and oppression and literal prison cages, or those who love differently or express their identities differently or are just different, whatever that might mean. Contrary to what I was taught growing up, we've always been a pretty mixed bag as a country, with some wonderful ideals of liberty and justice, tolerance and pluralism, community and equality, and a horrendous history of just doing the opposite at times. Most revealing has been the realization that every move forward has faced fierce and often violent backlash from those whose power is challenged. So the emergence of a regime committed to the exact opposite of our professed ideals of liberty and justice for all is really not all that new. It's not that we're wrong in feeling that something is somehow different this time around, but at the same time, we need not freak ourselves out by thinking that nothing like this has ever happened before, or that what's happening in our country is entirely unique in the history of the world. We've had regimes that have acted in direct violation of our Constitution before. We have had presidents who have ignored the Supreme Court before. We've had Supreme Courts that have denied the basic personhood of human beings. We've had police and military forces that have terrorized and traumatized people. We have long had members of Congress who have explicitly argued that this country is only for white Christian people. These ugly tendencies have been a persistent part of who we are. 40%, perhaps less at times, perhaps more at others. But this coldness of spirit has always been a significant part of who we are as a nation and undoubtedly as human beings. That's not all we are, of course. There is also a persistent spirit of warmth and compassion and goodness among us, and I have great faith in that spirit which I believe lives in every person. But there is that other part of us that never seems to go away and that periodically comes to the forefront and overwhelms our better angels, sometimes even our regular angels, and makes us less than we could be. We seem to be in such a period now, and it's hard to keep facing it day after day, wondering how long it's going to continue, how much worse it's going to get. But it really doesn't help to obsess over it. I had to learn this for myself. Back in April, after a few months of obsessively reading about what was happening, checking the news several times every day to learn about the latest fresh horrors, I finally realized I was becoming numbed and depressed. I couldn't process it all and remain emotionally connected to myself, much less anyone else. The dissonance was just too great. And so I stopped. I stopped my daily news habit. I went cold turkey, or at least cut way back. I figured I have the picture of what's happening. I don't actually need to keep obsessing over the details. I do keep plenty informed, but I don't keep opening myself up over and over again to that kind of psychic and spiritual damage over and over again every time I pick up my phone. I've stopped listening to what's on the air. I've started coming back to center, back to ground in many ways, literally. Like many of you, I've attended rallies that probably don't change anything politically in the halls of power, but do change viscerally in the hearts of many of us on the ground, shifting the narrative, the vibe, from one of resignation and defeat to one of possibility and hope. I've started attending smaller gatherings, like my local Indivisible chapter, for the first time. I participated in a wonderful gathering of UU congregations back in May. One person there shared that at the end of our time together, that her heart had been feeling alternately too cold with despair and too hot with anger, but that this gathering together had warmed her heart, which was just what she needed and just what our congregations can offer. I have found, and it's not always been easy, I found ways to get off my screens and into proximity and connection with other people more. I've taken time to visit and revisit places that are sacred for me, places of remembrance and grief, places of nature and beauty, of literal ground and sky and earth and human beings. I've started reconnecting with music and ritual and paying more attention to my body, taking more naps when I need to, taking care of myself physically. Above all, I've taken time to slow down, at least sometimes. As Nigerian philosopher Bako Akomolafe says, the times are urgent. Let us slow down so we don't freak out, numb out, check out, burn out. I've started coming back to the moment we're in, more grounded and centered, more renewed and refreshed, with my mind much clearer, ready to deal with what's happening from a place of emotional and spiritual presence, strength, and clarity, rather than a place of numbness, depression, and despair. I listen to a meditation app most mornings, and recently I heard this quote from Ian Thomas. And every day, The world will drag you by the hand yelling, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this. And each day it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, this is important. We need to take care of ourselves, friends, in whatever ways that work for you, because this struggle is not going away anytime soon. It's a struggle that's going to require something, I believe, from each of us, probably more than we're really comfortable with, but certainly something in whatever ways that you were able to participate. And there are many ways to participate, and that's my job to tell you about some of them. There are some things we can do at the state level, particularly here in Illinois, to counteract what's happening at the federal level. And you and I will continue to provide opportunities to advance our values of worth and dignity, justice and equity, interdependence and compassion through state legislation in solidarity with our partners. Just last month, we helped pass legislation to prohibit ICE from literally grabbing people out of our courtrooms and schools and hospitals and disappearing them. And last month, we also ended permanent punishments for those who have served time in prison. And we passed legislation to continue advancing sustainable energy and sustainable transit. We're going to keep doing this, and if you're interested in any of this, I'd love to talk with you after the service. There are also things we can do in terms of voter engagement, because elections are a big part of the reason we are in the mess we're in, and ultimately, they're one way we're going to get out of it. So you and I will continue to provide ways to promote values-based participation in the democratic process. It is not too soon to start gearing up for next year's elections. Again, if you're interested, I'd love to talk with you after the service. But at some point, all these efforts are actually not going to be enough if things keep going the way they're going. We are in the middle of an authoritarian power grab by a regime that's working to break our system of checks and balances and impose their vision of rule by the white and the wealthy, unimpeded by notions of democratic governance by we, the people. What's happening is not merely a matter of political differences that can be debated one way or another. What's happening is contrary to both the founding principles of this country and the values of our UU faith. At some point, legislative advocacy and even electoral process are going to be insufficient to deal with the corruption of our democratic system. What we need right now is a campaign of nonviolent resistance to stop the consolidation of power that is now taking place. We need to build a broad-based mass movement, not of partisan resistance, but of civil non-cooperation with the destruction of our democratic process. One of these efforts is called 1 Million Rising. It's a campaign that has already trained over 250,000 people in the principles and practices of strategic non-cooperation, another word for nonviolence. It's the largest such effort in human history. The basic idea, rooted in the history of nonviolent movements around the world, is that authoritarian regimes can be stopped by everyday people withholding our support from the various societal pillars that hold up any regime. It's not just the government and the military, it's business and economics and schools and faith and all the rest. Much like the pillar of turtles holding up King Yertle in today's story, we can help to bring some of those, remove some of those pillars of support from the king at the top. One of these societal pillars is education, where teachers and institutions have chosen not to go along with what they're being told to do, and alumni have pushed for and supported that non-cooperation. There's the example of a teacher in Idaho who was told to take down that radical leftist message, "Everyone is welcome here." She refused to take down that sign. The TV news heard of it and interviewed her. The story started going viral. A local printer printed up 20,000 t-shirts saying, "Everyone is welcome here." Students started chalking on the sidewalk, "Everyone is welcome here." That community rose up to say together more powerfully than ever before, "Everyone is welcome here, even here in Idaho." Get you. Another of these societal pillars is the business community. And thousands of people like you and me and folks at Countryside, UU, and Palatine have gotten more than 6,000 coffee shops and other stores to put up signs in their windows to say, ICE is not welcome to, does not have permission to enter our space. It's creating a culture that says to immigrants and customers and other businesses alike that we don't support attempts to deport and disappear our neighbors and our workers. Just recently in Chicago, a grassroots campaign successfully convinced a local landlord to stop letting ICE use their loading dock to transport immigrants. Now there are efforts to get hotels to stop renting rooms to ICE agents, and some of them are not far from here if you'd like to get involved. In neighborhoods across the state and across the country, people are coming together and pushing back against ICE on our streets. I was part of one such spontaneous uprising in downtown Chicago just last month. There are rapid response trainings every week. Over 10,000 people in just Chicago alone have been trained this year in rapid response, responding to our neighbors under attack. If you're not part of one of these efforts, I'd be happy to get you connected. Of course, the societal pillar that we as UUs are part of is the faith community. And last month, I got to be part of an amazing display of the faith community's power, in addition to the one that Reverend Beth has led. A coalition of dozens of Catholic and other faith communities organized a religious procession to the ICE detention center in Broadview. Hundreds and hundreds of smiling, gentle, loving church folk gathered in a church in Maywood and heard both the mayor of Broadview and Senator Dick Durbin declare that we're in a historic moment of resistance to injustice. And then we picked up signs, not with angry slogans, but with scripture verses. God has cast down the mighty from their thrones. Pictures of the Holy Family identified correctly as refugees. And we processed a mile down the streets of Maywood and Broadview with, get this, hymns and the rosary over the loudspeaker. That was new for me. And silence. It's incredibly powerful to march in silence with hundreds of other folks. When we got to the detention center, the priest asked permission to give communion to those who were locked up inside. The request was denied. And spontaneously, this crowd of gentle, loving churchgoers erupted in shouts of shame, shame, shame. What's happening is that everywhere, different segments of our society are coming together and starting to publicly declare, like Mac the Turtle, no more, we do not consent. Last month, millions of us gathered for one of the largest mobilizations in U.S. history. There are faith-based gatherings every Friday at the Broadview Detention Center, some led by Christians, some by Jews, some by Muslims, some by First Nations, some by UUs. Again, I have to give it to Reverend Beth. She's become a leader, you should know this, in the faith community in Chicago, representing UUs. And for that, I'm very grateful. Communities are responding to raids on their neighborhoods across the city every single day. And on Sunday, November 16th, next Sunday, there will be a targeted campaign to get AT&T to end its multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract to provide communication services to ICE, which is disappearing people from our streets. The goal is to slow the authoritarian consolidation of power before next year's midterm elections by making it more expensive for corporations to comply with the regime than to just stop cooperating with it. This is going to cost them some money for them to do the right thing. The specific tactic is to have coordinated protests in front of AT&T stores across the state. Local UU congregations are leading many of these all around the state. And I know that this congregation, Marion, has helped to start one that's going to be happening in LaGrange next week. Again, love to talk with you after the service in the living room. There's a wonderful reading from Clarissa Estes that continues to be relevant in these times. One of the most calming and powerful actions that you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like sheer gold in dark times. To be fierce and to show mercy toward others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. I don't know what showing your soul might look like in this time, but I encourage you to consider what you want to be able to tell your children and your grandchildren or future generations what you did during this time. I think about that. Because this time is going to end. It may not be quick. I'm quite sure it won't be easy. But the Christian scriptures say, as I said, God cast down the mighty from their thrones. Psalm 46 in the Jewish scriptures put it more bluntly. Empires fall. And I'm always inspired by these words from Gandhi from 100 years ago. Remember that all through history there have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Always. We may not have been exactly where we are in this country before, but we have beaten back waves of authoritarianism before, and we are going to do so again. Our country has a wealth of what UU theologian James Luther Adams called civic associations, groups of everyday people who gather together for the common good. Faith congregations are just such civic associations. Our faith communities offer a unique combination of connection and belonging, connection and meaning, a sense of belonging in relationships, and a set of values to live by. UUNI is about harnessing the power of our relationships and our values, harnessing the power of love to act as both people of fierceness and mercy in these times. This is undoubtedly one of those times that try our souls, but I would argue we are made for times like these. Some of us may have been lulled into the myth that we are a country of mild springs and endless summers, as if there was a time when the cold wind didn't blow that often or really weren't that big of a deal. Some of us have been tempted to think that if we could only win one more time or go back to the way things used to be, everything will be fine. The last decade has shattered these illusions, pointing out that this country has never lived up to the democratic values we aspire to, and reminding us that we're going to have to keep acting not just harder but smarter to build a more just society. The good news is we've made considerable progress over time. The bad news is that progress does not continue automatically all by itself. The saving news is that we are not alone in this struggle. We have each other. There's a vast network of groups and organizations and communities who've been working at this for a very long time. And there is a power, the power of love, greater than all of us, which offers both the vision of beloved community and the courage to pursue it. So let us not freak out as if nothing like this has ever happened before. It has, and we've overcome it again and again. Let us not numb out or burn out, but let us take care of ourselves and each other and find ways to nurture life and love and joy amidst all the fear and chaos and confusion. Let us not check out or tune out. Now is the time to choose courage over comfort, and there is a place for each of us to show up and show our souls in the struggle as we are able. Above all, let us not give up on ourselves, on each other. Let us not give up on the power of love that clears our minds and warms our hearts and makes our souls shine like the sun, so that together we can light up the world. Blessed be. Deep bows to you, friend. Thank you. Beloved, you can see if you are new to hearing about UUNI, why the organization has thrived and grown and made such a difference in Illinois because of your leadership and because of the leadership that you've grown among us in our congregations and your colleagues. So thank you for that, and thank you for those words. Thank you for the invitation. I have another invitation for you this morning. We come to this church and to Unitarian Universalism in general in part because we see so much injustice and inequality in our world, inequity, and needed a place to understand it. And Scott, you really helped us frame and understand it. What we found was not only a place where we can learn without censure the realities of injustice, but where we can also join together to embrace hope, to push back, make change, and have our collective voices heard in support of justice and equity. As we gather each week, we strengthen our resolve to work for justice, and we strengthen our resolve to do that as a spiritually grounded, values-based faith. In supporting this congregation, you support the work of justice we do in the wider world and the work that we do among us. Each month, we share the second week's collection with a nonprofit. This month, we are pleased to be sharing this with UUNI. You've heard the great work that UUNI has done and led us in,
And I know that we want to support it robustly in this time in our state and in the transition of UUANI. In a moment, we will say our offering words and the offering will be taken, but I want to remind you that everything from the collection today, unless it says it's your pledge, will go to UUANI. But it's not just for today. You can go online throughout the month and you can just hit the donate button and all those donations will go to UUANI as Scott has grounded us and led us, and we will be led into the future. Please join me in our offertory words. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with the world. We now gratefully receive your contribution. Thank you in advance.
Our benediction is a responsive reading by Clarissa Pincola Estes entitled, We Were Made for These Times. And these are on the screen, are you?
Yes, they are.
Okay, good. So I will read the first line, you'll read the bold after it. I'm just waiting for it to show up. There we go, thank you.
Just their responses.
No, it's all good. Yeah, okay, got it. You won't see my part. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times.
Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest depredations of what matters most to civilized visionary people.
Yet I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times, because the fact is, we were made for these times.
Yes, for years we have been learning, practicing, been in training for, and just waiting to meet on this exact plane of engagement.
Regarding awakened souls, there have never been more able vessels in the waters than there are right now across the world.
And they are fully provisional and able to signal one another as never before in the history of humankind.
Look out over the prow. There are millions of boats of righteous souls on the waters with you. Even though your veneers may shiver from every wave in the stormy royal, I assure you that the long timbers composing your prow and rudder come from a greater forest.
That long-range motor is known to withstand storms, to hold together, to hold its own, and to advance regardless.
In any challenging time, there's a tendency to veer toward fainting over how much is wrong or unmended in the world.
Do not focus on that.
There's a tendency, too, to fall into being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what cannot yet be.
Do not focus there.
Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend the parts of the world that is within our reach.
We are needed. That is all we can know.
What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing.
It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip toward an endurance.
One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul.
Soul on deck,
struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it.
If you would help calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do.
To display this lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others.
Both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity.
When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt.
But that is not what great ships are built for.
Our closing hymn is Building a New Way, number 1017. Please rise as you're able in body or spirit.
Can I get an amen? Oh, that was the best amen y'all have ever given me. Before we extinguish our chalice, I want to let you know that there is an opportunity to join me next Friday at 9 a.m. And if you're interested in learning more about this multi-faith opportunity, just see me after the service. But in the meantime, will you join me in our chalice extinguishing words? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts, and we share with all the world. Now, Scott, there's a beautiful ministry in this congregation, and it's a shawl ministry. The members of the shawl ministry knit shawls for people for marker events, for births and losses and sickness and other transitions. And so on behalf of the shawl ministry, y'all raise your hands if you're in the shawl ministry. There you go. There you go. It's really my honor to present this shawl to you. I just don't think I've ever presented a shawl before. No, seriously. Oh, look, it matches your outfit. May that shawl give you warmth. May you feel yourself wrapped in the love of God, the love of our faith, the love of this congregation, and the love of people who you've touched. Every time you put it on when you need that rest, remember that you are held in that love and that you are held in that mystery always. And Scott, remember us and remember how much we love you. We'll enjoy some music before we go for it.
When I woke up Wednesday morning and heard the good news about the elections, I sort of almost, as a robot, went to my piano and just started playing this piece. It's called A Child is Born. When I realized I'm 66 years old now, I'm kind of tired of all this stuff. The one thing I always thought was that our country was solid as a rock. It didn't need the defense that it really does need today. In a way, our nation is a child, and a child that needs to be nurtured, and we never need to forget, we should never forget how fragile it really is. And so, I like to play it, A Child is Born, but in this case, I guess, because of the election Wednesday, it's A Child is Reborn. So, this will be a quiet and reflective one for once.
Friends, please join us for coffee and conversation for a moment, and then Marion is going to host Scott, Reverend Scott, in the living room for the discussion that we talked about. But I do want to also welcome Scott's beloved Meg and siblings and their spouses here. Why don't you just stand up and wave or something? Thank you. We're so glad you're here. So beloved, as we go forth, knowing that our service here is ended, but our service to the world continues. Scott will be in the back to greet people and then downstairs for a bit.